Hello and welcome to another week in review on this weekend, the Saturday, the 28th of November 2020. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. For those of you watching on air, online, welcome. We take a look back at the week that was. We look back at the parliamentary sittings. The special sitting of the Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program, Parliament, People's Parliament, and we also take a look at our COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia. We've so far seen a revisiting of the protocols. We will get into what is different and what will obtain until the 14th of December 2020. I'm joined by my colleagues, Mr. Tony Nicholas and Ms. Lissa Joseph in studio, as usual, as we take a look back at the week. Good morning.
Bonjour, welcome.
Good morning, Jesse. Good morning, Lissa. And good morning to our listeners and viewers.
Good morning. I want to start with, understandably, the COVID-19 situation. And we've so far seen that the coming out of the NEMAC meeting and the following, the press conference which followed, an extension of specific protocols until December 14th, which we will be getting into right now. Lissa, safe to say that we almost saw this coming based on the figures that we've been seeing so far in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, absolutely. We've not been able to have any form of flattening of the curve, although there was some optimism, I think, expressed by the CMO as well as the Prime Minister that probably there was a little bit of a nudge towards that flattening of the curve, but we've seen the numbers steadily increase, and that increase, the CMO, and we'll be hearing her give a more scientific explanation as to how, the forecasting that we can very well get into the realm of more than 1,000 cases by December if we're not very careful with the rise that we've seen. And so the message is, of course, to adhere to what the simple protocols are, the sanitizing of the hands, washing them, wearing of the mask, keeping the physical distance. These things are proven to be more than a barrier between you and the virus. It keeps you very safe. So if we can do that, and that was the plea from the Prime Minister and as well as the CMO, that if we can continue to adhere to those protocols, perhaps within the next 14 days, we can see something of a little relaxing of the measures if we see a downward trend with the numbers. So we can get to hear from the CMO in her first clip.
From what we are seeing, we have not yet peaked. We still notice an increase, although the rate of increase has reduced. In the beginning of the outbreak, our R0, that is our rate of transmission, was below zero. But as we progressed into October and November, we noted increases in our transmission rate, moving from 1.9 to 3.9 to 3.5, and we presently, in the last 2 weeks of November, we've noticed a transmission rate of 3. When we look a little bit closer over the last few weeks, we note that the steep trend that we saw in October, within the month of November, the rate of increase is less, so that is, it is beginning to plateau. That is, the rate is less after the last 2 weeks in November. It is beginning to plateau. That is
so that was the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmont-George, just giving us an understanding of the trends with regard to COVID-19 in the last few weeks. Of the total number of confirmed cases, 33 are imported and 213 are from in-country. And the island has recorded, as you already know, 2 COVID-19 related deaths and currently 135 active cases with a total of 109 recoveries. A total of 110 individuals are in isolation with another 365 in quarantine. So we're not looking only at accommodation for persons who may be suspected of COVID-19 or are awaiting testing or have been tested and confirmed positive, but also their relatives, individuals who are just being monitored right now. Individuals ages 25 to 49 are most widely affected, with the age range accounting for 54% of the confirmed cases thus far. And so we got a little more detail from Dr. Belmont-George on those recent trends. And the Grosley district, we did see sort of a population. We had the mapping out of the COVID-19 cases here on island, and the Grosley district accounts for the largest distribution of cases, followed by Castries, while Labrie leads, having the highest incidence rate. Dr. Belmar George urges St. Lucians to adhere to all of the protocols as non-compliance continues to put all lives at risk. We're going to get into the protocols, what has changed, what has been strengthened to protect us in the curtailing of social gatherings. But first, this second clip from Dr. Sharon Belmar George.
With a transmission rate of 3 and having 127 active cases in country, it means that we are still in a very critical position, and we are not in a position to yet relax the measures as we note that things are improving in country. There is a potential within the next 14 days of noting over 1,000 cases if we relax the measures or we continue to adhere to the protocols that have been recommended. So from our forecasting, we predict that if we do not continue, if we don't adhere to the protocols, if we don't hold back, if we don't break the transmission rate, there is a possibility of more cases.
And that was the CMO there stating, as you indicated, Lisa, that we could see as many as 1,000 new confirmed cases in the coming weeks if we don't take action right now.
And taking action is simple, as we were saying before, Jesse. And I think too that at Fridays, and we'll get into that a little later on, but just to preempt, the concentration as to who is doing all of this spreading, the super spreaders, if you will, whether it's the front, the back, then wherever that is coming from, the doors. But we heard from the police yet again of at least 8 individuals being intercepted.
Yes.
In 2 separate incidents on that early Friday. And so it tells us that there is a real clear and eminent threat when it comes to people who are coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the argument has been, yes, we have individuals coming through back door, but is this the source of, you know, the COVID-19 cases? And I don't think that's the argument that the authorities want to get into. As you indicated, Lisa, it is the threat. You know, we do not know if these people who are coming back door are facilitating the transmission of COVID-19 into our borders. So we're not saying that these individuals are bringing COVID-19. We're saying that they are a significant enough threat in order for them to be stopped.
And I think we've perhaps, Tony, moved past the sort of blaming of whether it is this group or that group, because the point is we are where we are at.
Exactly. There is in-country transmission, and it's a question of, you know, responding to the protocols, obeying the protocols, and doing what it takes to keep ourselves safe, our families safe, and those in our immediate vicinity as safe as possible.
But the unknown, which is what people who are coming through at unchecked points, that is the unknown factor that they're bringing in, is what's creating the threat. And so we need to, as a community and as a nation, to, as people have been doing, to inform the authorities and let them know when this is happening, so that you can now have these individuals taken in, get them tested, and let them go through the proper channels in order to just keep everyone safe. Because if they're coming from high-risk areas and they're coming in without a test, they're certainly not having any form of clinical assessment being done when they arrive. So it means, yes, that they are literally a threat walking around.
Yes.
I don't even know how this is an argument. This is a subject for debate, because these individuals are coming illegally. So even out removing the whole contact and fabric of COVID-19, we have to see that and understand that these people are committing a crime, you know, and it is the additional layer being that they are posing a threat to our society,
public health threat,
through COVID-19. And I think that's all the argument we need. We're not supposed to be debating whether or not these people are bringing COVID-19 or it's coming through our ports, you know.
It is a moot point as far as I'm concerned at this point.
Absolutely. And just to look at some of the protocols, we're looking at the extension of the measures to limit movement and curtail social gatherings in order to reduce the number of active COVID-19 cases on island. We did have the meeting following the press conference following the NEMAC meeting yesterday. I know many persons are now getting wise to these stakeholder meetings and, tuning into GIS to see what the conversation is all about and what the concluding decisions are. Continuing to work from home where possible. I think that's something that the Honorable Prime Minister has stressed and continues to stress on. I think employers really need to think of not only, the bottom line, but also think about it in the long term, wherever possible in terms of having employees work from home. It should be taken into consideration. It should be implemented, because in the long term, your agency, your business may suffer more if you don't take this measure in the early stage. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that, but I think it's very important that employers take a look at that. If you haven't as yet, if you have given no consideration to it, it is very important, because we want to limit the movement of people on commutes, getting up every morning and coming out unnecessarily in most cases to sit down at a desk to sometimes do tasks that they can easily do at home.
I think by and large the business community has adjusted, I think, because hearing the reports coming out of the Secretariat, the Chamber of Commerce Secretariat, you found that the employers have been very eager to take on this new challenge. But of course there are little issues for you to be able to iron out, ensuring that everyone has the technology, that they have the hardware to be able to get the job done, and of course for the employees themselves to hold themselves accountable and get the day's job done within a good space of time, and then to report back to managers and so forth. So there are some things to be worked out, but I think by and large the business community is eager. You do have small pockets, though. I believe that as with anything else, change is a little bit difficult for everyone. There are certain instances where some employers are not too keen on this idea. They have not been able to wrap their minds around how they're going to reconfigure their whole operation in order to do that. And so for them, it may be a bit of a hard sell. And so they're still requiring people to come in when perhaps they really don't need to. So in as much as we're moving fast ahead, there's some people who are still being left behind, and hopefully everyone will be able to catch up and we can have this sort of remote virtual working world moving more smoothly.
Definitely some people who believe that they see you at a desk
and that means you're productive.
That means you're productive. Yes.
Yes. We need to break that notion. Also, in terms of the announced decisions coming out of yesterday's NEMAC meeting, continuation of limited business operating hours. All business operations and commercial activities must end by 9 p.m. And we saw that instituted from as far back as 16th November in response to the increase in cases. And as guided by the COVID-19 legislation, there are separate provisions that apply for sectors such as essential services, construction, manufacturing, call centers, and so on. So there are some businesses that are exempt from this, but in general, all business operations and commercial activity must end by 9 p.m. Social gathering restrictions, and I think that's the effort right now is to reduce social activities, is to curtail any unnecessary social activity here on island. So I think that's a big part. Mass crowd events and social gatherings are strictly prohibited, including permissions for loud music. In public and private settings, individuals are encouraged to limit their contact to the immediate households. No provision will be made for celebrations, and that is receptions or parties of any kind, including birthdays, retirements, wedding or funeral receptions, no wakes, no boat rides, no beach picnics. Now, when we tie that into religious services, religious rites, and so on, christenings, weddings, and funerals, they will be limited to 25 individuals. So while you can have and observe your religious rites, wedding services, funeral services, you must not have a wedding reception. So after the wedding service and you conduct your vows, there is no reception to follow. After the funeral, there is no, blocko. You know, after
The after party.
You should not be having an after party after
No, it's
the
a-
funeral
no.
service. So that is
I think this is great. Don't look at me like that. I think this is great.
A good time to get married, you think?
This is an excellent time to go get your vows done.
it's economical.
It's
and
exceedingly,
discreet.
yes, and I think it really now will bring the focus back to what the marriage and wedding is really supposed to be about, this union between two individuals, and not an entire neighborhood or 5,000 people and everybody's eager because everybody wants a big slice of cake and champagne flowing and, you know, lots of debt afterward that your marriage can't even stand after the wedding because there's so much pressure on you.
And now you don't have to pay for that extra line in the death announcement to say the family would like to mourn in peace. You know, you could leave out those words, you don't have to pay for those extra words.
Leave all of those things out. So I think this is an excellent time for people to, you know, get the nuptials done.
I mean, I have been to a funeral. I attended a funeral in a rural community. I won't say where, but you know, the community knew the person who passed away and everything. And you had people who were at the bloco before the funeral service even began.
But of
they
course.
had no intentions of attending the church service, but they were into going to the
Because it's all about
subsequent
celebration,
reception.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
In terms of religious services and church services, all daily or regular church and religious services are permitted in accordance with social distancing protocols. As I mentioned, the religious rites being limited to 25 individuals. Religious institution must carry out services according to the square footage of their church. So if you have a smaller church, you will only be able to, you can only accommodate a certain number of persons as compared to a larger church. This is guided by each institution's guidelines and protocols approved by the Ministry of Health. And of course, as I mentioned, the religious rites, including christenings, weddings, and funerals, are limited to 25 individuals only.
But Tony, during this time, how is your church faring?
I'm pretty good. I actually attended service last week, Sunday. I mean, all the protocols were in place and being adhered to. And yeah, I think persons are responding, both the virtual and in service. You go online, you register if you want to attend and so on. And yeah.
So when you follow online, I'm just curious, if you're following online, do you feel that you're any less a part of the church service than if you were physically in the building?
I think human nature being what it is, some of us who have been doing this for a while, we feel a sense of comfort being in the sanctuary, as you may put it. So, but again, right now it's not a question of feelings. It's not about how I feel. You know, in as much as I would like to be in there every single Sunday, understanding what the protocols are, understanding the reasons why we need to do this, we need to keep this in place, and hopefully this is not going to be forever. It's a matter of saying, okay, you know, I'm going to stay at home sometimes and just follow virtually. You know, I try to balance it, go in sometimes and follow virtually. And essentially that's what it is. You know, and we have this thing about, you know, we feeling restricted. Yes, some of us, I would love, you know, sometimes after a hard day's work on a Friday, you know, you want to chill with friends, have a drink and so on. But we need to understand what this is all about. You know, and just sometimes just separate our feelings from the reality that this is what it is right now.
Because I know a lot of people, for them going to church is something that they need to begin their week, they need to end their week, they need to,
and that's understandable.
Feel some divine presence and
even things like receiving Holy Communion, you know, they feel that sense of empowerment, you know, receiving it directly from the priest, the pastor, what have you. And now that it's curtailed, some persons are feeling, you know,
a big part of
and that has to be understandable. You know, we do understand that. However, hopefully it's going to be only for a little while longer until we could flatten the curve and get to a point where we're comfortable enough to go back to some form of normalcy.
Well, and for people like me who worship differently, I'm more of that sort of straight to God connection person. So the building for me is neither here nor there. So that works out well for me too.
Yes. And we respect that. All views have to contend, you know.
I guess, Tony, you set up your Cash App to send your tithes and your offerings.
Cash App? Do you have Cash App? I don't have Cash App. Well, again, speaking strictly from a quote-unquote religious point of view, again, there are some persons who feel more blessed, actually going and putting their tithes and offering into a basket, and the priest, the pastor raises up that basket and pray over it and someone. It's just a question of, we live in a country where we just need to be tolerant to everyone's, beliefs and what have you. You don't put people down for what they believe in. But in all of this, I'm just saying, these are different times now. And as much as that's what your preferred form of doing it, we just have to obey the protocol and just pull back.
In the absence of that, just give it more because you now have, whether it be the Salvation Christmas kettle,
yes,
they out and about. So every time I go by and it's clinging, I go in and I drop in, and of course the charitable deeds. Now that you have so many people who are on the breadline, and so you meet individuals all the time who need help, and that's part of giving that.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not directly to the church, but that is doing the Lord's work by assisting.
We all just need to play our part right now. These are very challenging times for a number of persons. And
I think the church and religious organizations, charitable organizations are well positioned right now, because in every crisis globally, we've seen the church, we've seen the Samaritan efforts at work, with every crisis that we've come upon in human history. So you're definitely in a good position to see how you can continue to impact the society, help the persons who are downtrodden right now, to really be of use at this time. Continuing with our protocols that will take effect on 1st December, continued restrictions on alcohol sales, and we saw that instituted from 16th November, the effort to reduce the mixing of people and the congregating of people at the bars and restaurants and what have you. Consumption of alcohol on premises is not allowed. Standalone bars must close at 4 p.m. Takeaway policy stays in effect for bars until 4 p.m. Absolutely no gathering inside or outside of the bars. Strict measures of enforcement will be undertaken. The sale of sealed alcohol is permitted at supermarkets, mini-marts, and gas stations. So you can continue to get your alcohol at supermarkets, mini-marts, and gas stations. I hope you're not too eager to drink that you do so on the premises, because it's not allowed. You can take it with you after 4 p.m. You can purchase from these places, but please be discreet in your operations, understanding the protocols, understanding what is at stake, and the efforts afoot to reduce social interaction and so on. We know alcohol can do that. Alcohol can, disarm you, make you feel more comfortable, make you see a friend, you see a co-worker, out in public, and you're more likely to lime, and all of a sudden, by the time you know it, you're catching up with old friends, and it's a whole reunion.
And that's a situation I know that has been a challenge for the police. There have been quite a few bars that had to be shut down or warned and so on, and it is still quite challenging for police, especially towards the weekend. Last night, for example, I know there were some situations where persons had to be cautioned or advised that it's way past 4 p.m. As late as 6, 7 p.m. there were certain, areas that were still open, and the police had to say, hey, you need to shut down. So it is continuing to be a challenge. I know it's a societal issue. Persons are saying, well, they have the right to, after a hard day's work, a hard week at work, they want to chill out. But again, I'm saying these are not normal times.
But the 4 p.m. is new time?
No, it obtained previously.
The standalone was always 4. Yeah,
it's always 4.
Always 4.
Well, since the November 16th. Yes. Yes. So it's just grab and go. You go at home in the comfort of your home. But again, understanding human nature, understanding our society, one or two ones. And sometimes, you pass someone, 2 persons stop to have a drink. Right? The bartender is then what have you. And then very soon that 2 multiplies into 10 or 20, because 2 passers say, hey, look, a partner there, this one stops, and it quickly multiplies.
Groups promote themselves.
Yes.
It will add on and add on and add on. People
and
come
before
in.
you know it, it's out of control.
And the other thing I saw persons commenting on yesterday, and that wasn't mentioned yesterday in the protocol, but I think it still stands because the commission had mentioned until further notice, all licenses for loud music have been suspended. So I saw persons commenting and talking about, because I know of instances again where the police have had to shut down the playing of loud music. So that still obtains until further notice.
Right, but they just shifted to the cars.
It's loud music.
So,
Well, maybe now they need to put in a new regime for loud music for
yeah,
vehicles.
just in the vehicles. So,
But there is a noise. What's the Noise Abatement Act?
yes, there is.
Never really enforced.
Yeah, but the 4 p.m. Melissa, I mean, it had to be put in place because the bars weren't, quite a few of them, especially in the capital, were not adhering to the grab and go policy. So they had to put the clamp down on these establishments. We're going to get into restrictions on sporting activity, gyms included, and also the special considerations that have been made for the education sector. We know that the Ministry of Education is maneuvering through the changing COVID-19 trends, trying to ensure that education continues, because we obviously need it. We have the students who are studying and preparing for major examinations. So we'll get into the details of that in just a moment. We're due for our first break for the morning. Stay with us.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow. For a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle in her honeymoon skies. When her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul. And her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand, shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is Saint Lucia. Let her inspire you.
Cette lisi ka registre ve min corona ek I ka fe mouvment ek an chay vites tan chaque canef ka kouye pour viligence publique la fait wolo parler en place publique qu'on bon en met base ti boutique changer distance sociale 6 pieds Rodyon à l'autre. I ka travail tan, si ou senti ko pas cordial, quarantine ko, pas en contact et puis l'autre, en cas où te toi pe exposé. C'est un écouye, free one ou ben n'importe clinique yo pou. Les pays a dimi à clé, ça veut dire les supermarkets, pharmacies et puis ATM, yo accessible avant c'était souhait. Pays à clé en plein, ça veut dire tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauver vers mine corona. Si nous tous servi Jidla à toutes les.
Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging around. No, no.
Advice, give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and
let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. We're taking a look at the strengthened protocols, the extended protocols for COVID-19 following a NEMAC meeting held Friday. That was yesterday. We're talking about it on the Week in Review live on NTN. If you're just joining us, a special good morning to you. I have Lisa and Tony as usual with me, and we're talking the protocols and everything that transpired, outstanding headlines that transpired for the past week. We're now on to restrictions on all sporting activity, including gyms. And I know for many people, this was a source of, burning out any anxieties associated with COVID-19. Many persons, that's how they burn out their frustrations, their concerns, their worries about their lives. But at
we
this
have
time,
one here. I mean, Miguel, we're so sorry.
Miguel, you can't gym. You can't gym right now, And I think it's calling on us to figure out ways how we could continue to stay fit while at home. All team and high contact sporting activities, inclusive of indoor and outdoor trainings, local competitions, gym workouts, or social activities are prohibited for the given time period. Provisions apply for individual or immediate family households to exercise in a safe, open-air space. These activities may include running or walking, cycling, home gyms, yoga. Special permission granted for training athletes requiring one-on-one coaching and training for non-contact sports. Special permission is granted for one-on-one personal training. So, individuals out there, I definitely hope that you can make the best of your gym experience, your workout experience while at home, because right now it is restricted. And also the gyms are also a social sort of environment.
It is a social environment.
Yeah. And to discourage that, this decision has had to be taken. And it did obtain from the 16th of November, continuing into this new protocol space that we're in.
But perhaps we should insert here, because I know that this comes up quite often when people ask then if I am going out walking, doing my exercising in the morning. Yes. Do I need to wear my mask? That comes up quite often, people ask. And I think that the CMO has been saying, no, because you are exerting all of this breath and so forth. So yes, you can have your mask for when you're done, and if you certainly will be in coming into close proximity with other individuals on your more leisurely walk. But if you're out there and you're going running, you're cycling and so forth, it's not the best thing to have that mask on as you exerting all of this energy and breath. So no, you should not be exercising and wearing the mask at the same time.
And also on that note, and since you mentioned the CMO as well, she has been advising in a number of her releases that whilst we do obey all the protocols, that's the greatest time as ever to boost our immune system, by taking certain vitamins and so on, and remaining healthy, eating healthier foods, fruits and what have you. So
can you help me find them at the supermarket, Tony? What is going on?
No, I can help you find them at the market, especially on a Saturday. There are lots of local fruits right now. Golden apples, sugar apples, yes, some bananas, yes, at the Catcher's Market.
I can do the bananas, yes. Sugar apples.
Sugar apples in abundance right now. They're really good.
So I should only be having sugar apples?
What's that?
Only sugar apples?
Golden apples are good too.
Golden apples, yes, I can do that as well.
Season.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful, but
guavas, we've had a lot of guavas, a lot of guavas as well.
Food shortage.
Guava juice, local juice. Yeah. Well, the food shortage are just a side, but I know there's some concerns in agricultural circles in terms of we needed the rains after this long spell of our season.
Yeah.
But they're praying that we don't have this extended wet season, because that again could affect the productivity going into next year. So there are some concerns there. So, but that's for another show, as they would say. Yeah.
Right. So, the worries just don't stop, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that they're in abundance, go down to the market. I'm promoting right now. Get yourself some fresh local produce.
Are you telling me sugar apples again?
Well, yeah, that's among so many others. You have some soursop as well in the market.
Oh, great. I can do that.
But going back to the restrictions on sporting activity, I know, like I mentioned, persons oftentimes preferring to go to the gyms. There's certain high intensity activities that you could do at home that you could keep active. The jumping jacks and the burpees and the push-ups and the pull-ups.
I suspect Jessie wants to do a video workout for us. So next week Saturday we're gonna show folks a demonstration of how Jessie works out at home.
Do I get in? She's lifting furniture. I mean, she doesn't get any better than that. Lifting furniture. This is great.
Yeah. but definitely there are things that you could do to keep your immunity up, keep your body in a good condition at this time. Moving on to the special considerations for the education sector, schools remain physically closed. That is, the school compounds, they remain closed and exclusively operational via multimedia modules. However, special allowances are being made to facilitate the following. Please pay attention. Students of tertiary level schools in medical and natural science programs that require lab and practical evaluations. Students of secondary schools in Form 4 and 5, they're preparing for the regional and international academic evaluations. And students of primary school in grade 6 that are preparing for national and regional academic evaluations, particularly the common entrance exam. The common entrance exam. So there are arrangements being made for the students who are gearing up for the exam, the common entrance, the CSEC, the vocational examinations that are upcoming, to be able to prepare and meet with their teachers face-to-face in certain instances. I know in the medical field, natural science field, there are labs that must be conducted. You can't get away from that. You need to go in, do your observation, do your lab testing, see the results of your tests and so on. So there is special consideration being made. But if your child is not in an exam year, you can rest assured that they should be remaining home at this time, making use of their devices, ensuring that they're up to date with their assignments as given by their teachers online.
So, Tony, these are proposed, or are we now concretized? Where
I think it's pretty close to concretizing it, because, again, we have set the protocols in June. In June of this year, the Form 5s, Form 4s, as well as grade 6, those students were integrated into the classroom to prepare them for the exams. And the reality of it is, folks, that we have some students, especially the newer generation, the 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they are coming into this technological age. And by the time they get to that point, they may very well be extremely comfortable just staying at home. But those students who are used to the face-to-face, and some students really need that one-on-one interaction with their teachers, their peers, to help them, get over and prepare themselves for those exams. It is very important and very necessary. Yes, we still have some fears, but I think going based on what happened in June of this year and the preparations, how everything works seamlessly, I think those fears could easily be allayed. So I know there should be some meetings this week happening to just finalize all of the protocols in getting the students reintegrated into the classrooms for preparation for the examinations.
And because the reality is life just doesn't stop because of COVID.
And I have to insert here too that over the last couple of weeks that there have been ongoing training for teachers in terms of the technology, as well as the provision of laptops for teachers. Over 700 laptops were distributed in the last couple of weeks for teachers in terms of, again, preparing them for that journey as we make that transition.
And I was very pleased to see that the special needs students,
very much so,
that they've been given some devices as well, and this is wonderful. And I think that is a very difficult sector as well, because the spectrum of special needs, it's such a wide range, and so to sort of coordinate and be able to have the teachers interact with these children in this blended learning environment, and it was very heartwarming to see, and I do hope that they can realize some good success, and just to keep the children engaged as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. So definitely, I mean, we've entered the decade of research and innovation, and it coincides perfectly with us beginning to think of new ways. During the People's Parliament held on Monday, organized by Jeff SGP, to kickstart their whole agenda for research and innovation. We did have the district education for District 8, I believe, that's the Suffer area. She did indicate that, you know, the classroom experience of the 2000s is quite similar to the 90s, the 80s. You know, how have we changed the dynamic to improve the learning experience of our students? And so definitely, you know, COVID, the silver lining in this whole COVID-19 experience is definitely us being thrust into, you know, a more innovative way of teaching our kids.
And I think too, we need to also move beyond just the classroom as well. In order for the entire nation to be moving, I think like what Jeff did with the People's Parliament and putting research and data at the focal points, how do we now get all of our people interested in research, data? What does the information mean to you? And how you can improve your life based on information. I think when we begin to allow the ordinary folk to understand that, then we'll be able to see a shift in how our people think, and create more critical thinkers. But if if we put the focus solely on changing the school environment and we're doing nothing to really extend it beyond that, then I think we perhaps will always be in that sort of cat and mouse game sort of thing.
Part of it, Lisa, is that the conversation, the dynamics have to change. When you talk about research and innovation, just those two terms alone, persons begin to think of X minus Y equals Z plus and all this technological.
Right.
And sometimes we just need to break it down to the simple ways of life. Things that, okay, probably some of the things that our parents use. Things like, okay, the go ditien or the go popo. You know, that has been used for decades here in St. Lucia. Okay, so let's do some research in terms of how does it affect us, how it is best used, how we could package this thing better. You know, in terms of the things that every day we use in them, but we just take it for granted. We just know, okay, you have the coal, you plug those couple of leaves, you put them in, you boil it, and then you're fine. You know, but in terms of passing it on to the next generation, in terms of putting it in a book, in a booklet, this is another area where we've not done a very good job of in St. Lucia, documenting stuff. All of this is part of the research and innovation that we're talking about. So I think it needs to be localized and simplified for the average person to grasp, because trying to follow the People's Parliament you mentioned on Monday, I shouldn't say even for me, it was very heavy. Dense. A lot of what was being discussed was very heavy, very intense and so on. You know, a lot of good information, but for a number of persons it could be a bit much.
Yeah, quite intimidating now to be listening and you think, well, this is not for me, and you tune it out.
Because even going back, and here you said, you know, it's not just about the schools, but let's just go back to the schools. If you look at the school system, in some schools where you have teachers who are championing the technology and the devices and so on, you could see the advancement and the changes being made. There are some schools you set up those computer rooms, what they call them now. There's a new term used for them. Computer labs, what have you. Sometimes those computers stay there and they're not updated, they go to ruins, and you could see that, you know, some schools, the principals or their teachers who take the lead and they insist that this is the direction they want to go. You know, so it's in terms of trying to get all the schools on an even platform, that is also proving quite difficult. Not that the resources are not being provided, but in terms of having the persons or the individuals themselves not having this fear of the technology, you know, wanting to move past the talk and chalk, as we say, and persons have to be willing to say, hey, we need to embrace this. We have no choice but to embrace it. It may be difficult at first, but once you get a grasp of it, you know, hey.
But you say that, and that comes to mind too, because we've had significant investments made within communities with the human resource development centers, and there too, provision for computers.
Yes.
It's there. You have individuals who their job is to assist when you come in and to help you go and navigate and so forth. But how many people are really utilizing these centers. And even in this COVID period, you can utilize the centers because, you know, a schedule and so forth, you can observe the same protocols, the distancing and so forth. But how many people are utilizing it? Because the fixation is for everyone to have a device in hand, and locked up in my bedroom sort of thing. But the provisions are there, but are we really utilizing all of the resources?
I mean, you go to the metropolitan countries and you see persons have their devices, but they still utilize internet cafe and, you know, on those facilities.
You go to the library.
You know, they go to do their printouts in the library and what have you to do what they have to do.
And the fact of the matter, in these metropolitan countries, they don't all have devices. You know, there are people who are confronted with poverty as dire as what our experience in third world countries, and they make use of these same institutions.
I saw a documentary of an entire half of a state where there's no internet connection.
Wow.
So and that is in the great United States. So it happens.
And just to go back to us becoming more innovative and changing the culture across the generations, I was thinking, I was just going back to a gentleman that I went to school with, and he started the Algas Organics. His name escapes me right now, but Johannes. He did indicate that, you know, he thought of an idea, but in order to make it a successful business, he had to do his research first.
Yes.
And I think the institutions, I believe it was CAFA he engaged with to determine the levels of the different chemicals within the CMOS and to determine how effective it would be. I think the institutions all have a part to play in really breaking down the barriers of the highfalutin, you know, upper echelon. We deal with Nobel laureates, you know, I dare say, but, you know, also coming down to the common man and really engaging them to see what ideas they have and helping to facilitate and to determine what sort of viability these ideas and prospects have.
And the idea is innovation. It was so refreshing for me to have watched an episode of Untold Stories, and it had to do with the innovator. His name escapes me, but Evictus, the company Evictus, and dealing with this desalination creation, right? Invention. But he was speaking about his curiosity as far back as a child, age 7 and 5 and so forth, and how his parents, you know, really simply facilitated him in his curiosity, you know, destroying all of the television sets just so that he now can be able to find his way, figure things out. It was such a refreshing story. It is not the commonly told St. Lucian story. And so it really sort of goes to show that if we pay close attention enough, we can begin to shift that meter, and we can have more innovation because our people are capable. So we need to simply be tuned into it and open, be receptive in order for us to now see that shift.
Absolutely. And just to pull back out of the research and innovation, rewind, education, and the special considerations for the education sector amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the protocols involved, we go back to the NEMAC meeting that was held yesterday. The revised protocols, we want to remind you, they take effect on the 1st of December, that is this coming Tuesday, and it will be effective until Saturday, 14th December. And this is in an effort to come back and review and see if it is working. Have they noticed increased cases? What is the rate of transmission here on island to make a determination going into Christmas, really. The recommendations, as we mentioned, working from home, the restrictions on sporting activity, the operations for commercial sectors, etc. Please take note of them, and we encourage you to go onto the Government of St. Lucia website, where you could get the entire list of protocols that have been extended into the 14th of December. We have a clip from Honorable Dominic Fede, who is the chairman of the COVID-19 Command Center, just speaking on the extended protocols.
We also have all business operations and commercial activities must end by 9 p.m. daily, as guided by the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act, Section 17(2)(b). And this basically sticks to closing all commercial activity by 9 p.m. to allow employees to get home by 10 p.m. Separate provisions, of course, will apply for necessary sectors such as the essential services, the construction, manufacturing, and call centers, which we understand would have some very late working hours. We're trying our best as much as we can to create as little disruption to our economy as we attempt to strike the balance between the public health measures, but also to allow our economy to thrive. Recommendation number 3 includes restrictions on all social gatherings. We made one change here for churches. This particular slide would actually try to prohibit birthday parties, retirement parties, wedding receptions, funeral receptions, wakes, boat rides, beach picnics, etc. However, there are some exceptions that are made for the celebration, including, if we can go to the next slide, Part B. There are some restrictions that are made for special religious rites, including christenings, weddings, funerals, will be limited to 25 individuals. So while, for example, in the case of a wedding, we're going to have the religious ceremony is not prohibited, neither is the christening nor the funeral service at the church level is being is allowed. It is prohibited for the social aspect, so the reception that comes with it. We're actually asking individuals to desist from that for the time being.
That was the Honorable Dominic Fede. We're taking a look back at some of the protocols and the announcements that were made during the press conference following the NEMAC meeting. Again, the consumption of alcohol on premises remains prohibited. Standalone bars must close by 4 p.m. We emphasize, we want to let you know that this is what obtains because the police will be enforcing this in the strictest form. The takeaway or grab-and-go policy is in effect for bars until 4 p.m.
And of course, we'll be speaking about the enforcement. From Monday, I do believe we'll be having the enforcement protocol officers or wardens, if you will, wardens. They will be training to undergo at least 2 weeks of training and so forth, and then for them to be able to be out and about in the various communities as under the supervision of senior police officers. Mm-hmm. Yes, so I'm looking forward to that because the extra hands will be good for the enforcement. And I think, too, as I indicated last week, that certainly I would like to see what role they can play at the various bus terminals to assist with getting people onto the bus, wear your mask, to sanitize when you're getting on and so forth. Yeah.
I think it's almost unfortunate that we've had to employ persons, you know, to have an effect, sort of an enforcement. I think persons should be able to take initiative on their own, but we so far seen that is, you know, proving difficult, and so the wardens will come in handy in terms of ensuring compliance at the community level.
Wayne did remind us this morning that when can you really depend on anyone to do anything that's right, Wayne? So you need you need to police people for them to be able to protect their own lives.
Yeah, but we certainly hope that their job is made easy, and that everybody is on the COVID-19 watch train by now. Yeah, we're going to go to a clip before you started speaking, Lisa, of Dominic Fede, but I think we've made the point clearly known in terms of the protocols, and again, you could go onto the GIS website for the full list of extended protocols. The Royal St. Lucia Police Force, as we're coming off of the warden talk, meantime, remains committed to ensuring compliance with the laws that have stipulated protocols in country to prevent the spread of COVID-19. We did get word from the Deputy Police Commissioner, Milton Daisy, that on Friday, that was yesterday, as you indicated, Lisa, 2 vessels were intercepted trying to enter the country illegally, and these vessels were subsequently impounded. The Deputy Commissioner is urging individuals to continue the practice discontinue the practice, and to report any illegal entrance that they may have any tips on in providing as soon as possible. We've been speaking about this for quite a long time in terms of persons reporting anything that they see in their community. They know of somebody who was abroad for some time and all of a sudden they see them back, no grand, return, but just a quiet return, and you're not sure if that person came through the right channels. It is okay to give the law enforcement that information so they can investigate and ensure that there was no unscrupulous activity involved. The deputy also noted that there have been several breaches in the law and the protocols, and I think that's why we've so far seen the continuation of these protocols in terms of closure of businesses, the restrictions on alcohol sales and what have you. He explained that in certain instances where a number of warnings had been issued, the businesses were shut down and the individuals were arrested. We'll go to that clip now from Mr. Daisy.
There have been instances where at least 15 persons have been found in bars that are closed from the front, but the back door is either halfway opened or persons are inside carrying out activities. Now, you'd realize that as part of the protocol, bars were only supposed to have been opened up to 4 p.m. daily, and bars with grocery shops or restaurants and so on had to be, the closure time was 9 p.m. We have had instances where at 11:45, almost midnight, police have to be closing bars.
And now the wardens, the term is protocol enforcement officers. The police will be employing them to assist in ensuring compliance to the COVID-19 protocols. And the force received over 500 applications, and on Friday, they have indicated that they selected the final cut. These individuals are scheduled to commence training next week, following which they will begin their duties throughout the various districts under the supervision of a senior police officer.
You would appreciate that to have persons new coming into the job, that they would need some briefings, they would need some training in terms of writing reports, that is, writing station diaries, the mode of patrol, and so on. During the initial training, which we are expecting to be at least a week, the officers would be paired with senior officers during patrol so that they would be acquainted with patrol procedures, what is required of them, and so on. After which the officers would be good to be on the road performing the duties.
That was Mr. Milton Daisy, Deputy Commissioner of Police, just going over the measures that have been put in place in terms of employing the protocol enforcement officers to assist in ensuring compliance at the community levels. We do hope that you don't need someone on your back in the community. We do hope that you're already doing what you should. Your community, your neighborhood is conscious and aware of the COVID-19 situation, and you all are playing your part to ensure that we can reduce the rate of transmission here on island. Our time is running out, but I will now offer Lucia and Tony just the final words as we close. COVID-19, we know that there were many other activities this week headlining. We know that the Honorable Prime Minister did speak. I wonder if we have the clips. Miguel, we have the clips on the rules? Okay. Well, the parliamentary sitting, we had the parliamentary sitting this week, and the Honorable Prime Minister indicating that have the demonstration of commitment to enhancing long-term fiscal resilience, stability and sustainability, and also going back all the way to Monday with the People's Parliament happening. We don't have the time to go through all of it this morning, but we do encourage you. You can go onto our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and the Government of St. Lucia website, where you can get all of what transpired this past week and really get your fill and staying abreast as to what's happening here in St. Lucia. But for now, final words, Lisa, Tony.
Yes, for me, I just really want that now that we're going to be embarking on the next 14 days, that we all simply just observe the protocols. Let's do the simple things that we know can really keep us safe and keep others safe. And if you at all have come into contact with someone that you know perhaps tested positive for COVID-19, full disclosure is always important. Let the people at your workplace know, let friends and family know, and isolate yourself. Follow the guidelines that have been provided by the Ministry of Health, because once that would happen, they will come into contact with you and they will let you know what you need to do. If you have any flu-like symptoms yourself, please don't venture out. Stay home, stay away from work, stay away from your friends and family. Keep yourself quarantined, isolated, whatever the situation is. And just overall, let us all just stay safe.
Well, for me, I just want to look at something quite quickly in terms of this new period extends to December 14th, and prior to that we have National Day, December 13th, and I know it's a period of time that persons look forward to the celebration, the switching on of the lights and what have you. And from my understanding, there are plans to do something virtual. So based on the situation that we have right now, we cannot have the mass crowd gathering at the Derek Walcott Square on the 12th or the 13th. If we look at what happened in New York just this week, the Thanksgiving Day parade, I mean, even the participants were reduced by less than half of what it used to be, and it was a made-for-television scenario. So again, I just want to reiterate that these are different times. No one is trying to take away our freedom from us, but it's just a matter of just trying to do what we need to do a bit longer. I just want to, again, finally, we talk about the protocols ending on the 14th, and then it'll be reviewed. I don't think any one of us want to go to a situation. I just want to read what obtained in Jamaica as we speak right now. December 1st to the 31st, they're on curfew, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Christmas Day and Boxing Day, 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. each day. So it means on Christmas Day, if you have to go visit family and so on, you need to be back indoors by 7 p.m. New Year's Day, January 1st, 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. January 2nd, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. That's for Jamaica. I'm not saying that's what we'll obtain in St. Lucia, but hopefully if we could flatten the curve or reduce our numbers, I'm sure we'll be able to have a more enjoyable Christmas. Probably not in the mass crowd gathering, but in terms of our freedom of movement to go visit family and stay a bit later, a bit longer, we really do not want to get to that point where Jamaica or some of the other states are experiencing right now. So I'm just urging folks, it's a month end, it's a weekend. I know the temptation is there to go out and, have those mass crowd gatherings, but please, let's just obey the protocols for a little bit longer and do what it is what we need to do to keep each other safe and keep ourselves and our family safe.
Because we already know too, Tony, just as a quick sidebar, that as the cases increase and we have to keep people in care, we know that we do not have the capacity to be able to have hundreds of people in care all at the same time with COVID. And so we do not want to have that sort of situation. Let us not even begin to entertain that possible thought and then play the blame game. We know what the system is. It is what it is. And no country has been able to sustain having large numbers of people in care at any given time. No country has been able to do it. Not even China when they started.
Yes.
They built a hospital in 10 days, was it? Something of that sort?
Yeah.
Right. So we just can't do it. So let's just do what we need to do to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah. And the situation, the plight that people have been experiencing in the last few months is not lost on the authorities. It's not lost on us sitting here at this table. I believe Lucia, you, Tony, myself, the persons behind the cameras have all experienced some degree of inconvenience in one way or another as it pertains to COVID-19. I think what we need to do and the answer to the anxieties that we have right now and the inconvenience and the discomfort that we have, the displacement, is to adhere to the protocols. And that's all we can cling to right now. It is the gospel right now. We need to really adhere to the protocols in order to, as Tony indicated, to reduce the transmission of COVID-19. We are in a very concerning place. The CMO has indicated that she could see, based on the trends, an increase of 1,000 cases by Christmas time if we don't take the measures now. It is important now. You want a thriving business, you want to bounce back, have your business bounce back, your affairs bounce back. The effort is right now. We need to put in the work right now, adhere to the protocols as basic as the hand sanitizer and the 6 foot distance and the mask, all the way up to the protocols about commercial businesses closing, no sporting activities, no gym activities. All of these things are important in getting us to the common goal, which is to a place where our businesses can do well. We can have a lessening on the protocols, and persons can move about more freely because they have adhered sufficiently to the protocols. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. It's all the time we have for now this Saturday, the Week in Review. On behalf of Tony, Lissa, myself, the rest of the team here at the GIS, we'd like to thank you so much for watching. Again, I encourage you in staying abreast as to what's happening here in St. Lucia and our COVID-19 experience. You can you could go onto our website, the Government of St. Lucia website, for news, the latest news, as well as our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and always stay tuned to the NTN cable channel 122, where you will get all of the facts and official statements on COVID-19. Season's greetings, everyone. Compliments of the season. Let's go into it. Everybody keeping safe. Cheers.